What's up everybody, it's Gone Turbo here. This is Skyrim Special Edition on the Xbox One. And in today's video I'd like to share with you my February 2019 load order. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I strive to create the best looking Skyrim game that I can on the Xbox One. So since this game has been released, I have been testing and trying different mods that, in my opinion, improve the look of Skyrim. So I'd like to take you through my load order, and at the end of this video, or towards the end of this video, you will see screenshots and game clips of this load order in action. So as the years have gone by, I have tried different mods and have given it my own opinion to see if it improves the game graphically. So as I go through this load order, you're going to see some mods that are more gameplay-like, but I'll highlight the ones that are a little bit more visual, have a little bit more of a visual impact. So starting at the top of the load order, we have the Unofficial Skyrim Special Edition patch. Under that, I have Campfire. I do use some mods that create a more survival type of feel to my game, so I'll just briefly mention those as we go through. Also, another thing to note is that I use the Dropbox load order document as a guide, and there's a link to that in the description. Okay, for graphic overhauls, I still use the graphics pack. There's a number of different bundles, if you will, out there, graphics pack being one of them, that improve the textures, improve the look of lots of things, objects, buildings, and I find that the graphics pack with assets 1 and 2, and I do use the add-on static mesh, cover so much in the game and look really excellent. Other bundles that are out there, and I'm calling them bundles because they incorporate a number of different things, Skyrim graphic overhaul, some of the vivid Skyrim mods, Noble Skyrim has come out recently. Those are all excellent, but I think that the graphics pack covers more in the game, and I aim to try to cover as much as I can in my load order. So I do continue to use the graphics pack. I have High Hrothgar also in the load order that improves the textures to High Hrothgar. One mod that I do use, however, is Whiterun Stonewalls. So the graphics pack utilizes a number of different mods by different authors, and I don't care for the way that Whiterun looks with the graphics pack, the Osmodeus textures for Whiterun. So this mod here is just a different look to Whiterun. I love the stones, I love the way they look, they blend nicely, and the texture looks great. It doesn't look like there's a repeating pattern within the stones, so it's really excellent. Other graphics overhauls that I do use Skyland towns and villages. There's a number of these kinds of mods that exist also, and these change or improve the look of I guess more non-city kinds of buildings. So anything that might constitute a farmhouse, which are obviously found on farms, but also in some of the smaller villages and towns. So Riverwood, for example, this mod here, the buildings in Riverwood, inns, the wood texture, the porch, wood, the pillars, the decking, if you will, on all those kinds of buildings are improved and changed, and thatching also on roofs are also affected. There are other mods like this that change the look of those specific textures, and I find that this one is the best out of all of them and goes well with this load order. So that's the other thing about this load order, is I feel that things blend together and nothing looks out of place, in my opinion, with these textures. Everything just kind of fits naturally. Speaking of that, Rustic Lands Blended. This is my landscape overhaul of choice. There's many of them out there, again, like Vivid Landscapes, Osmodeus, Noble Skyrim, Skyland also. Skyland just on a side note, is also one of my favorite landscape overhauls. However, I feel that Rustic Lands adds a little bit more detail to the world. To explain that, so I find that the textures, there's a lot of good variation. There's a lot of nice coloring. It's not too over the top when it comes to coloring. It's not too fantastical. It's not too gaudy. I think it's nice for the world. It blends well together. Textures blend well together as they transition from one to the other. But I find that there's enough detail in the textures to make it makes the world look a little more rich, if you will. There's not a lot of patterning, but there's also not a lot of, it's not plain and kind of boring looking, I guess. So it gives it a little bit of detail. If you were to plug in Skyland and notice a particular texture, like a riverbank, for example, or a road, there's not a lot of detail within that texture. So pebbles and stones and sticks and things versus Skyland, versus Rustic, where you're getting a little bit more detail within it. It just makes the world look a little bit more detailed and real, I guess you might say. So they're both good, but I prefer Rustic Lands. That was a long explanation of that. All right, we get into some other mods here that affect Imperial forts and dungeons, caves, mines, and Nordic tombs and ruins. So these are other interiors that are, non-human building like. A lot of these graphics overhauls and even mods like Skyland, the full version of Skyland, change the interiors of these things. However, I find that these mods here, these dungeon mods by T4GTR34UM3R, are absolutely superior. These look so fantastic. I can't describe. Well, you'll see in the video some of these interiors. They just look absolutely amazing. And even though the file sizes are pretty big and overwrite anything above here that affect caves and mines and things, I think these are much better. The one mod that I don't really care for with this series is the Imperial Forts and Dungeons. Just seems a little bit plastic and out of place. So I've chosen the Skyland Imperial Forts and Dungeons instead. And again, I think these look fantastic, the Skyland ones. All right, further on down, we get into Divine Cities. I've contemplated using this over the last couple of years. If you give this a try, it really does a nice job adding objects and things to cities and towns and villages. And I guess from what I've seen and what I've read and what I've heard, I used to have quite a bit of problems with this in terms of crashes and hang-ups. But it seems that once NPCs go through their time routine, then this mod is supposed to work better. So I haven't had any problems with crashes since having this in my load order and kind of playing through some of the days in game with this. So I really like it. I love the way that it changes Whiterun, which is my favorite place to hang out. So I do use Divine Cities. Frostfall, again, some immersive survival feel that I like to the game. iNeed, food, water, and sleep. Your character has to eat food, drink water, and rest to not reduce any of your attributes. So your character can lose a little bit of stamina regeneration if you don't rest and things like that. For sound mods, I use Immersive Sounds Compendium and Reverb and Ambiance Overhaul. I think these are two excellent mods that work well together. Ordinator, perks of Skyrim. You get over 400 new perks in the game and lots of cool little effects with those perks. All right, when it comes to weather and lighting overhauls, I obsess over weather and lighting overhauls. I sometimes go back and retest them, retry them out based on other thoughts or ideas that I might have about them or things that I want to try. I keep coming back to Mythical Ages. And although mods like Vivid Weathers, which has the most favorites and downloads, True Storms, Obsidian, and Divine Atmospheres also have the highest amount of favorites and downloads, if you will. Mythical Ages doesn't, but I see a lot of people use this mod. I think that it makes the graphics in your game look the best. It's very hard to explain, but some mods will, because of the lighting, will wash out some of the graphics. If a weather and lighting mod makes your game too bright and you're not adjusting settings appropriately, then things can look washed out. So snowy areas can look just too bright, and everything looks just not good. Some weather and lighting mods, in my opinion, are too dark, and even with adjusting some brightness settings or contrast settings, some of the darker areas, the blacks, don't look great either. So everyone's display is different. Everyone's TV or monitor, whatever you're using, is different. But I find that Mythical Ages, with the way the lighting in the game happens or is rendered, graphics just look smooth, a little bit sharper, and just the atmosphere itself is fantastic. It's not too fantasy-like, and it's not overly realistic. It's just a nice balance. So I use Mythical Ages. I do use True Storms. So here's another piece of this, is I don't just use Mythical Ages, but I use True Storms. And the patch here, this patch keeps the Mythical Ages aesthetic. Nope, I'm going to back that up. This mod keeps more of the True Storms aesthetic, and prefers, and it it allows storms to be darker. So this is the patch again that makes, with these two together, you get the True Storms effects, the rain particle effects, the snow particle effects, and you get darker storms. There's another one that simply integrates the Mythical Ages stormy weathers without changing the aesthetic. But this is the one I use, if that makes sense. Minty's Lightning, Mythical Ages, Minty's Lightning compatibility, and Obsidian Mountain Fog. So the other lighting mod that I really love is Obsidian, and it's a seasonal mod. It's absolutely fantastic, and if you're looking for a more natural or real look to your game, then I would suggest Obsidian. It's just absolutely wonderful. All right, going further on down, HD Stars and Galaxies. This is a mod that changes the look of your night sky. There's some different nighttime mods out there. Some of them are a little bit over the top. This one is, as it says, lore-friendly, HD stars and spiral galaxy texture. It looks really nice if you're looking for a little bit more better quality to your sky, but still keeps to the regular kind of look to the game. I do use Breezehome. This is just a player home mod. It changes the interior of Breezehome, gives you some Hearthfire options as well. Shelter for the Weak is something that has come out recently, and this mod adds various shelters throughout the world. So because I have a survival character, and even though I can pitch a tent wherever I want, this is a mod that adds places to rest from the cold, wind, or rain, and it is Frostfall compatible. All right, as we get into Foliage Overhauls, I do use Divine Forest. This adds trees throughout the world, but also additional flora and fauna, so you'll get more plants and flowers throughout the wooded areas and things like that. So that's great. Whiterun Forest Borealis. I like a little bit of variation to my Whiterun Tundra, and this is a very performance-friendly, not over-the-top mod that adds pine trees throughout the whole areas of the Whiterun Tundra. Not like Great Forests of Whiterun, which completely cover dense forests in the tundra, but this adds just a nice variation of trees throughout. So HD Photorealistic Ivy is what it says. Falling Gildergreen Petals. This is really cool. So when the Gildergreen tree in Whiterun has petals, when you go through the quest to get the petals start to grow back, this adds a little effect of the petals falling, which is really neat. Veydosebrom. All right, so grass overhauls. This is a very important topic because there are a number of different grass overhauls out there, and I highly recommend that for a great looking game, you choose a grass overhaul other than just plain vanilla. So Veydosebrom is the mod of choice for me. This is the normal version. I think it just looks the best visually, but also adds some good variation in color throughout the world. I've tried the other grass mods. This one, in certain areas compared to others, is dense enough. Like, this is the normal version, but I use Lush Overhaul, and I think that denses up the grass a little bit. I've tried Veydosebrom dense. Again, it works great, but with Lush Overhaul, it's just a little bit too much. And some of the areas, like around Riverwood, this covers those green areas a little bit more than some other mods do. So I like a lot of grass. I like a lot of variety within the grass, and I think Veydosebrom does a great job of that. Again, Lush Overhaul makes trees, plants more lush by increasing the meshes, I guess you might say. Landscape fixes for grass mods. We then get into this newer HD LOD or level of detail mod that has come out recently. Big file size, 131 megabytes, but what this does is it improves the textures to not only the landscape but to buildings from a far off distance. So LOD or level of detail, you see this a lot in mods or mods that exist. It's the far background of the game. So if you're standing on a cliff or a high area looking out over mountains and landscapes, that far background is what this LOD is all about. And we talk about it being ugly and gaudy. It's just the nature of the game and a lot of video games. Close distance things are more detailed, and this mod and some others aim to try to bring some more detail to that far background. So if you are looking at Whiterun from a further distance, then it's going to look better with this mod, and it really does. The one thing that doesn't ever seem to be good enough are the trees. TLS Amazing Tree LOD is supposed to replace trees with a better look to them. I'm not quite seeing that there's a huge difference with this mod, but it's one that exists that is supposed to do that. So I don't know. Maybe I need it further down in my load order. Skyrim is windy is cool. It makes trees and plants sway a little bit more in the game. So I think it makes things look more natural. Get into some gameplay mods here. Athletic combat, better combat AI, visible favored gear, immersive citizens, splendor dragon variants. It's supposed to kind of randomize the colors in dragons, to give you a little bit more variation. Merchants of Skyrim, expensive Skyrim. Those do what they say, pretty much. Realistic conversations, amazing follower tweaks. If you have any questions about what these mods do, I don't want to get into a lot of detail about some of these things. We'll be here for hours. All right, some more texture overhauls. Northfire Photoreal Mountains. There's tons of mountain mods that exist out there, and again, some of the landscape mods or the graphics bundles might affect mountains, but I don't have any problem pulling out a singular texture mod and having it overwrite those if it's better. So in my opinion, Northfire's Photoreal Mountains is the best texture out there. It looks really great close up, but also from a further distance. It blends well with everything in this load order, including the HD LOD, including rustic lands, even textures within. One of the things that I look for is that as we look at stones throughout the world, you would assume that when these buildings or castles or structures or walls were built, that they were using the stone around the area. So if there's a stone that is like super dark or almost black or dark color brown or even really, really light, yet all the stones in the buildings and castles and forts around the world are completely different, then to me that doesn't kind of make sense. So I feel that how these mods flow together in that sense look a little bit more natural, and that they would have been used for the surrounding buildings and things, if that makes sense. So this looks just fantastic. Nordic Snow. I've tried every snow mod that has ever come out, and although a lot of them are really, really good, I think Nordic Snow is the best. So this mod author, as it states, lives in Norway, so he knows what he's talking about when it comes to how snow looks, and this snow texture, in my opinion, is the best. You don't see a lot of patterning, so sometimes these landscape types of mods, you'll see lines and patterns in them, and this does a good job of not bringing that out too much, and it just looks really great. Lockpicking interface redone. All right, so there's a couple of lock mods out there that change the look of locks, but this one is really neat because when you go to activate a lock, you get this kind of bigger size lock interface that pops up on your screen, and it's more detailed. It's high quality, but it's also meant to be useful. So because of the rivets and the detail within the interface, as you're picking the lock, you can adjust your pick, and if you attempt it and everything kind of starts to shake, and then you go to adjust your lock pick, you can look to see where your lock pick is within the detail of the rivets to start to adjust, if that makes sense. The mod author says that increased detail in the addition of several bolts, you'll have more reference points that will make lockpicking a bit less tedious without cheating. So that's what that kind of does. All right, I am very glad that this mod has come out recently. This is Rug Textures, and is meant to bring your rug textures to high definition. And I used to have a mod that was furniture and rug texture overhaul, that improved the look of furniture and rugs, and I only was using that for the rug portion of it. So now that this just singular rug texture has come out, I no longer need that other bigger mod. Graphics Pack does just a fine job with furniture, and I can have the higher resolution rug textures that I'm looking for. So it's excellent. Septim's HD, again, a lot of different coin mods out there. This one is a newer one that is excellent. It makes your coins look high definition, and I think it's the best one that does exist. All right, changes NPC Clothes, also called Elaborate Textiles. This is a mod that adds a little bit more of a detailed, elaborate look to clothes. So not only will you find some of the women's clothing a little bit more elaborate, like you'll see more lacy things and a little bit more paisley. This mod will add some of that detail. So even things like more fine clothes or expensive looking clothes have a little bit more detail to them as well. So it's really, really cool. Dogs are now huskies. Prismatic insects of Skyrim. This adds a ton of new variation to insects and butterflies, so they all come with different alchemy effects. So you not only see more variation with moths and butterflies and bugs, but if you dart wings, dragonflies, if you catch them, then you'll have some new and different effects, which is really neat. Realistic horse breeds. This is a mod that completely changes and increases the texture to the look of your horses. It's not crazy where you're getting a totally different look to your horse, but just a nice clean update or upgrade in the way everything looks. So really, really nice 2K textures. All right, my blood and gore mods here. More blood and gore, enhanced blood textures, better blood splatters, and enhanced blood textures darker. So I like me a lot of blood and gore. This series of mods in this order works the best. I've actually spent quite a bit of time testing these mods in different arrangements, where like better blood splatter might be up here, more blood gore at the bottom, and visually this order right here from top to bottom makes everything work and look the best. In some other arrangements, like some of the blood it just didn't look right. It looked plasticky, it looked out of place. It was just kind of weird. So just, I don't know, trust me that this is the order that makes everything seem to work as it's supposed to and look the best. So, Design of the Nords. This is the banner replacement mod of my choice. There's other ones out there, but this one to me is, I guess I'll go up and say lore friendly. Some of the other mods make banners look too clean and just not natural because they are too clean and pristine. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I like that this adds a little bit more of a realistic look to the banners. Definitely a lot of variation, honoring the different holds throughout the game, throughout Skyrim, and also in areas where some of the banners might be torn or weathered. It gives these banners a more weathered look sometimes, which to me is a little bit more natural. Display enhancements is a must-have mod, along with dynamically disable eye adaptation and bloom. So in this load order, I only increase contrast 2 times. Depending on your display, again, you might be adjusting that. In terms of brightness, I actually use the sliders in the menu. I don't mess with display enhancements brightness. I use the sliders in the menu. So for this load order, I always pretty much start at center on the slider, and then do 2 or 3 clicks to the right to increase brightness a little bit. I also add one click of red tint. You gotta be careful with red tint with Mythical Ages because things start to get too purple if you're not careful. And again, that's what works great on my display. Dynamically disable eye adaptation bloom. I have some videos on this, and I highly recommend you have this in your load order. You can disable bloom, and also for eye adaptation, I enable that, which allows transitions from dark and light to shift a little bit, so things don't look too dark and washed out. But on some displays, you're going to want that disabled, which will make your dark areas look really good. But on my display, it doesn't always work too well, so I enable eye adaptation in this case. Unlimited shouts is cool. It's an amulet that you can adjust how quickly your shouts cool down. You can do it instantly, or 75, 50, or 25%. So that works really cool. Thundering shouts, louder nature. You'll see in this video, you'll hear in this video, some of this louder nature amplifies everything by 15 decibels, which is the maximum allowed without altering sound files. So I've contemplated keeping this on or off, but I like the nature sound, so I leave it on. Wolf Howl Fix. I do not like the awful fake wolf howl that is in the game. I swear to God, a human has created that wolf howl, and it just sounds silly. So this is supposed to eliminate that, but it doesn't seem to always work. Quieter dungeons and caves. A couple of mods here. It looks like this one was taken down still. This is a music, not replacer, but added some really nice music to the game. Silence is just simply silences the main menu, so you don't get the song. Dragon Remains keeps the skin on the bones. Cheat Room, Font Overhaul, Gregorian Skyrim calendar, changes months and days to real Earth months and days. All right, in terms of female or body changes, I don't go all out with finding the best female or male body texture replacers or meshes. I've dabbled in it. I've used a few that I like. I used to like Mains of Skyrim, which is no longer available. And Texture Tweaks Female Face Edits was always my backup. This is only 31 megabytes, and if you're just looking for something simple that looks great, then this this works. It works with vanilla bodies and UNP bodies, or at least it's been tested. The mod author said that works good with those. I find that as I have tested some of these other beauty packs, and I have tested them out, some of those don't really make your characters look more beautiful. This one here, for 31 megabytes, I actually find in some cases is better than some of these 100 megabyte beauty packs that exist out there. So trust me and give it a try. Again, it's not going to be like the highest quality beauty replacers that people sometimes put together. I've seen load orders where folks put they have like 5 or 6 different beauty and body mods that make characters look absolutely fantastic, and I just haven't gone as far as to create that in my load order. But this affects all female characters and just improves everything really nicely. I had a simple hair improvement mod here that seems to have been taken down, and this was simply an improvement to vanilla hair. It's supposed to make vanilla hair look more natural, so it wasn't anything over the top, but seems to have been taken down, and I don't even remember what it was called. Girly animation, drug or horrific textures. All right, we get into some more clothing and armor mods. These mods here, even though they're bigger in file size, highly recommend that you use these in this load order, in this order. Fashions of the 4th Era. I have Sleeving Skyrim, which just adds sleeves to characters that might have short sleeves. It's cold, so you need long sleeves, you know. Old Kingdom Armor Overhaul, a must-have. This increases armor, the look of armor in the games, in the game. Sleeving Skyrim patch. However, the one thing that I don't like about the Old Kingdom Armor Overhaul is the Elven armor, which makes it look like a gold-yellow color. It just looks so gaudy. So I use this black and gold Elven armor replacer. It just looks fantastic. Chainmail hoods, AC Crusader armor. I like the look of this, so I just have it stashed in my Breezehome. Improved close face helmets. This gives the visor of helmets, where there usually would be just like a black graphic. It reduces that so you can actually see the character's eyes or face. Additional lore weapons. All right, I have a series of 4 weapons mods here. I had a video on this, or I have a video on this, that I think I counted up over 200 new weapons to the game with this with these mods here. I think some, when it comes to the leveled lists, will overlap each other and replace, but overall, this load order, or this order here with these 4 are going to give you a ton of new weapons throughout the game. So I have additional lore weapons, heavy armory new weapons, Skyrim Special Edition expanded Skyrim weaponry, I think it is, and Silmarils Lord of the Rings weapons. This one is my favorite right here. So you get actual movie high quality Lord of the Rings weapons that you can craft, you can buy, and you can even find, like what's the one that I did a video on, Sauron's mace. Huge, cool weapon there. Old Kingdom weapon overhaul, again, so some of the Old Kingdom armor. This one is Old Kingdom weapon, and it improves the look of all weapons in the game. The one thing that you don't need with this mod is the I think it was lone wolves, maybe better shaped weapons that make weapons skinny. You don't need that mod with Old Kingdom. So if I didn't have Old Kingdom, I would have had that mod that makes weapons thinner, but you don't need that. So okay, some other gameplay mods. We have Alternative Start, Wearable Lanterns, Enhanced Lights and Effects Exteriors, Faster Horses. Again, some of my more immersive mods that go well with iNeed, Creatures and Food Realistic Wildlife Behavior, I Like Food, and Milk Your Cows and Goats too. If you're looking to make bread, I think you need milk for bread, or sweet rolls. If you want to make some sweet rolls, if you want to bake it up, you need milk. So instead of going through the whole hearth fire thing or finding milk, buying milk, whatever, you can milk your cows and you can have your milk for your sweet rolls and pie. Divine Cities lanterns and candles. You can craft lanterns and candles and candelabras, and it's really cool. Mystic Condenser, did a video on this, and it's really good to have. Venison. So I don't like the look of the venison that graphics pack does. It looks more like elephant meat, and this looks more realistic in my opinion. So somebody else must have thought that as well. That's why they have this mod. Dead NPC Cleaner, Dynamic Dungeon Loot, Soldier on No More Lazy Jarls, TLS LOD Blur. This is a ring that you can activate that blurs out the level of detail, the background. It's good for screenshots, in my opinion, but for full gameplay, probably gets a little bit hard on the eyes. Golden Egg Treasure Hunt. This is just a fun mod that puts over 230 eggs with unique textures and a little story, and also powerful potion effects with the eggs. I just like to find them, collect them, and I stick them in a bucket or a barrel in my Breezehome. Just kind of fun when you're playing and you come across, oh, hey, there's an egg. Kind of neat. It's like Easter, I guess. Bounty Perks, Dot Crosshair, No Radio Blur, XP 32 Maximum Skeleton, and Realistic Ragdoll's Force. I only use this for the Ragdoll's Force piece, although some of the body mods, you need this, so I just leave it in here anyway. Tweaked Arrows and Bolts, Faster Bows, Oblivion HUD or HUD. With this, I don't need the dot crosshair, so it's really good. Lighter Firewood and Logging Skyrim. So with my survival character and with Campfire, I like to build fires, and with Frostfall, you know, balefires keep warm. And Logging Skyrim is great because you can approach a tree and it will say, you know, activate, like if you would to, you know, pick an ingredient and collect that ingredient. So trees become like picking the ingredient, and what you get is a log. You can harvest the wood, and you obtain one log. So I use that instead of going through the whole campfire resource and collecting wooden branches and all that. So you can just activate a tree. Really, really cool. And lighter firewood lowers the weight to just one unit instead of 5 or 10 or whatever it is. Realistic Waters 2. Now, there are other water mods out there, and I find this one to be the best. This is version 5, which came out this past late fall 2018, and it adds a whole bunch of new stuff to water effects in the game. Everything from the water flow to ambient sounds to volume of waterfalls to icebergs and ice chunks cracking and gurgling and bobbing, waves retextured, crashing effects, sound effects there, foam effects for waves to the coasts, waterfall animations sped up and retextured, foam effects retextured, rain ripples changed, small rapids in streams sped up, green reflections and some meshes, fixing some bugs with that, new animated waterfall for blacksmith, new animated water for blacksmith troughs. That's really cool. Better splash effects. So in terms of look, I just think that this looks the best out there. Realistic Water 2. This is the patch that goes with it for iNeed, color patches remover, and fix restore vanilla settings. So that is my February 2019 load order. If you have any questions about some of these in more detail, feel free to ask, feel free to leave a comment, and I will respond as best I can with what you have for questions. So the rest of this video will be highlights, screenshots, video, some gameplay of this load order. And just to note, when you see a screenshot or a video clip, and if I'm focusing on one object, it's not just that one object that might be affected. It might be everything else, from the stones in the background to the wood to the lighting to the cloud textures. It's all, I try to change as much as I can with this load order, and I think if I were to give this a percentage, probably 90 to 95% of things in this game have been touched and have been changed and have been improved for the better with all of these in place. So thank you for watching. This has been Gone Turbo. Enjoy the rest of the video, and I will talk to you again soon.
Did you hear something?
Working at the Rift and Fishery is tough, but it puts some coin in my pocket.